You think it's just a habit. You tell yourself, it's normal, everybody does it. But here's a truth most people won't dare to tell you. The real damage isn't what you're doing, it's who you're becoming. Masturbation seems harmless, even healthy. That's what modern culture tells you. But if it's so harmless, why do you feel ashamed afterward? Why do you feel drained, unmotivated, weak? Here's what no one talks about. Every time you give in, you're teaching your brain to settle for less. Less discipline, less clarity, less fire. You're not just releasing dopamine, you're leaking your potential. And the worst part, you've made peace with it. You've convinced yourself that living like this is fine, that it's just part of being human. But it's not. It's the slow erosion of your edge, the quiet death of your ambition. You think it's just about pleasure. But the Stoics knew better. This is about power. The power to master yourself, or the price you pay when you don't. Welcome to Stoic Spirit, where we strip away the lies and reclaim the fire within. If you're ready to break the cycle and live with purpose, subscribe now, and let's rebuild your strength from the inside out. Let's talk about it. Section 1. The modern lie you've been sold. Science says it's natural. Doctors say it's healthy. Pop culture makes jokes about it. Even your favorite influencers might tell you it's a form of self-love. But let's be brutally honest. When did something that leaves you feeling empty, tired, and ashamed ever count as love? You've been sold a lie. A convenient one. A lie that says you can indulge without consequence. That your private habits don't shape your public life. That you can spend hours pleasuring yourself to pixels and somehow still walk into the world with confidence, purpose, and masculine energy. It doesn't work that way. Behind closed doors, men are falling apart. No drive, no ambition, no fire. Wasting hours, days, even years, locked in a loop. They're not living, they're coping, they're not choosing pleasure. They're avoiding pain. Porn becomes the reward system for mediocrity. Masturbation becomes the sedative for your soul. The tragedy isn't just the time wasted. It's what you become in the process. Your standards drop. Your motivation disappears. You no longer fight for greatness because you've learned to settle for comfort. That's not sex. That's not freedom. That's slavery. Because once dopamine owns you, you no longer own yourself. You answer to impulses, not intention. And that's how empires of men crumble from the inside out. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. They knew that once a man becomes addicted to anything external for validation or peace, he forfeits his internal power. And in today's world, the lie of harmless pleasure is robbing more men of that power than ever before. Section 2. The science of addiction and why you feel so empty. Let's break it down. Every time you climax, whether through real sex or artificial stimulation, your brain releases a surge of dopamine. Dopamine is the reward chemical. It's designed to push you toward action, toward survival, toward reproduction. But now, you're getting that same chemical flood without any real achievement, risk, or connection. You get the reward without the journey, the hit without the hunt. And so your brain learns, why pursue women, goals, or growth when I can press a button and feel good instantly? But your brain is not stupid. It adapts. The more you abuse dopamine, the more tolerance you build. What thrilled you last week now barely moves the needle. So you go further, longer, stranger, darker, but still emptier. Eventually, you cross a line. You're not even enjoying it anymore. You're just doing it out of habit, like a lab rat pressing a lever. And even when it no longer feels good, you keep pressing, hoping this time it will feel like the first time again. That's the nature of addiction. You don't control it. It controls you. It rewires your brain, numbs your emotions, and steals your capacity to feel joy from real life. You stop noticing beauty, you lose the drive to chase goals. You feel unmotivated, anxious, and socially withdrawn. Not because the world is dark, but because your mind has been hijacked. This is how good men lose their spark. They become hollow. Their eyes lose life, their voice loses weight, their posture weak, their presence forgettable. Why? Because they've traded real-world energy for cheap digital release. You're not a man anymore. You're just a chemical puppet. A creature trained by the algorithm, trapped in a cycle of short-term pleasure and long-term regret. but it doesn't have to stay that way. Section 3. What the Stoics knew that you forgot. Seneca once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." These weren't just poetic words, this was a warning, because freedom, in the eyes of the Stoics, had nothing to do with external conditions. It was about inner rule, being the commander of your mind, your emotions, and your desires. To the Stoics, pleasure was not evil. They didn't demonize the body. What they rejected was slavery to pleasure, the inability to say no, the slow erosion of reason, the collapse of character in the name of fleeting satisfaction. When you can't control what you crave, you're not living, you're reacting. You're not leading your life, you're being led by your impulses. Masturbation to a Stoic was not just a physical act, it was a moment of truth. A chance to observe yourself in the mirror of temptation and ask, am I the master or the slave? Do I serve my values or my urges? Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome and warrior of the soul, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But today most men have lost that power, not to external forces, but to internal weakness. And that weakness doesn't start in public, it begins in private, behind closed doors, in the moments no one sees. When you surrender to these habits, you don't just lose control, you lose something deeper, your masculine edge, your spiritual backbone, the fire that once pushed you to fight for more. And once that disappears, the world doesn't care. It will walk all over you. It rewards the disciplined, it respects the self-controlled, and it devours the man who can't even say no to himself. The Stoics weren't celibate monks. They were men of action, of focus, of clarity. They lived with intent. That's what made them dangerous. That's what made them great. And that's what today's world is starving for. If you find this video valuable, take a second to hit the subscribe button. It helps us grow this channel and create more powerful content like this, so we can keep reminding you of the strength you already have. Thank you for supporting the mission. Section 4. The hidden cost. Your time, energy, and confidence. Let's be brutally honest. How do you feel after it's done? After the dopamine wears off, after the screen goes black, after the silence creeps back in, do you feel stronger? Do you feel more alive? Ready to conquer the day, speak with confidence, and command your reality? Or do you feel like something inside you just died a little? That feeling, that dull, lingering regret, is not random. That's your soul signaling loss. That's your potential dripping away. Because every time you give in, you're not just wasting time. You're training your brain to choose the easy path. You're reinforcing weakness. You're replacing growth with gratification. Most men don't realize this until it's too late. Until their energy is gone, their ambition is numb, and their confidence has vanished without a fight. They think they just need more motivation, more hacks, more self-help books. But the truth? They've been bleeding self-respect in secret, one moment of pleasure at a time. What you do in private determines who you are in public. Every time you choose pleasure over purpose, you reinforce the idea that comfort matters more than conquest. And that shapes your destiny. It affects your discipline. You stop waking up early, you skip the gym, you let the hard things slide. It affects your energy. You feel tired, sluggish, foggy, unmotivated. It affects your relationships. You show up weaker, needier, less present. And worst of all, it affects your self-worth. Because deep down, you know you're capable of more. You were made for strength, for clarity, for fire. Not this. Not endless loops of regret wrapped in 5 seconds of escape. There's a price to every indulgence, and the longer you ignore it, the more expensive it becomes. Section 5. A story you need to hear. There was a man I once knew. He was sharp, intelligent, full of potential. The kind of guy who always talked about starting his own business, hitting the gym consistently, waking up early, making something of himself. But every night, he'd fall into the same pattern. Phone in hand, door locked, screen glowing. The ritual was always the same. Scrolling, clicking, finishing, regretting. He wasn't addicted to pleasure. He was addicted to escape, to the illusion of control. In that moment, he felt like he was choosing, but deep down, he knew he was running. Running from his anxiety, from his failures, from his unlived potential. The habit became his hiding place, a place where no one could judge him except himself. Then one night, something shifted. Not because of rock bottom, but because he got sick of looking in the mirror and not recognizing the man staring back. He realized he was living like a ghost, there but not fully alive. That night he decided, no more. No more hiding, no more excuses. He turned to Stoic philosophy, not as a quick fix, but as a way of life. Every urge became a challenge, every temptation became a test, and little by little something changed. He began to reclaim his mornings, his discipline, his confidence. He didn't just stop masturbating, he started showing up for his own life. He became someone he respected again. Not because he was perfect, but because he was honest. And he fought every damn day. That man, he's not some myth, he's real. And his journey, it's yours. If you choose it, if you stop asking how long it will take and start asking how far you can go when you stop running from yourself. Section 6. The real power of Stoic self-mastery. Stoicism is not about repression. It's not about guilt or shame. It's about clarity. It's about owning your desires instead of being owned by them. It's about freedom, not from the world, but from the chains you put on yourself. Chains of habit, chains of indulgence, chains of weakness disguised as comfort. The Stoics believed that a man's greatest power is his ability to choose how he responds, not just to pain or adversity, but to pleasure. Marcus Aurelius wrote more about resisting temptation than about warfare. Because he knew, the hardest battles are the silent ones, the ones that happen when no one's watching. That's where greatness is forged. To live stoically is to live intentionally, to wake up with purpose, to walk into each day with direction, not distraction. To look at yourself in the mirror and say with certainty, I control my mind. My desires don't control me. That's real power, not brute strength, not fame or money, but self-mastery. Because when you can say no to what weakens you, the world can't break you. When you can delay gratification, you can build something lasting. When you can feel the urge and choose to rise above it, you're no longer just surviving, you're leading, you're creating, you're living like a man. Pleasure isn't the problem. The Stoics weren't monks. They didn't run from joy. But they never bowed to it either, because they understood, the man who serves his desires becomes smaller than them. And the man who masters them, he becomes invincible. Section 7. Closing challenge. Time to decide who you are. Let me ask you something, and be honest. Would Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the most powerful empire on earth, spend his sacred hours hunched over a screen, chasing false pleasure in the dark? Would Epictetus, once a slave who rose to become a philosopher of strength and dignity, waste his limited willpower scrolling through synthetic fantasy? No, never, because they faced real hardship. They faced pain, war, exile, betrayal, and came out sharper, wiser, stronger. They didn't seek escape, they sought endurance. They didn't numb themselves, they refined themselves. So the question is, what's your excuse? Don't tell me the world is hard, it always has been. Don't tell me you're stressed, everyone is. Don't tell me it's normal. So is mediocrity, and that's exactly what you were not born for. It's not too late, but it will be, if you keep waiting. If you keep postponing your greatness for one more night of comfort. The first step isn't complicated. It's not even about quitting the habit overnight. It's about choosing something greater than your urges. Choosing purpose over pleasure, control over chaos, fire over fog. Stop chasing fake pleasure. Start chasing real purpose. Don't waste your strength on pixels and instant relief. Reclaim it. Reclaim your focus. Reclaim your energy. Reclaim your edge. This is about more than breaking a habit. This is about becoming someone you respect. So if you're ready, truly ready, declare it. Not to me, to yourself. Right now. Drop this in the comments as your first step toward freedom. I am no longer a slave to desire. I choose strength. And remember, this fight is daily. It's not one in one moment. It's one every time you choose to rise, to resist, and to rebuild. That's what it means to live like a Stoic. That's what it means to become the man you were born to be. Thank you for being honest enough to watch this until the end. That already sets you apart from the crowd. In a world where most people run from discomfort, silence their conscience, and numb their minds with endless distractions, you chose to stay. You chose to listen. That means something. It means there's a fire inside you, maybe small, maybe buried, but it's there. And if you protect it, feed it, and follow it, it will change everything. That fire is your inner Stoic. It's the part of you that refuses to be weak, refuses to settle, refuses to live as a slave to comfort. You see, most men today are sleepwalking. They scroll, they consume, they drift, but not you, not anymore. Because awareness is the first weapon, and now you hold it. You've seen the truth, and the truth demands action. This is your time, your chance to rewrite the script, not by chasing perfection, but by choosing progress, choosing presence, choosing power, real power, the kind that doesn't come from pleasure or praise, but from mastering yourself in the moments no one sees. Live like a Stoic. Live with fire in your belly and virtue in your hands. Rise above the noise, reject the weakness, embrace the stillness. Forge a life that commands respect, starting with your own. If this message spoke to something deep within you, then don't let it stop here. Subscribe to Stoic Spirit, not just for content, but for a movement. A reminder, week after week, that you are not alone in this path of strength, clarity, and self-mastery. Thank you again for watching, and welcome to the brotherhood of those who choose to rise. We don't just watch, we act, we lead, we become. Subscribe now, and let's walk this path together.